Mike Cooper and I have been close friends for over 45 years. His work has always surprised, delighted, and inspired me, and I've shown several examples of his work on my channel. Mike has just completed a book which offers a comprehensive view of his work over the last 50 years. I've read the book several times, and even though I've seen most of Mike's work in person, the gorgeous photos offer a unique perspective and reveal countless details that I had not yet discovered. Mike, you organized the book in a way that's so much more than just a catalog of the work itself.
Thanks, Ron. You know, this was a process that took years to really develop, and I really wanted to start with how I began thinking creatively, and of course I wasn't even thinking about it being creative. I was just having fun as a kid. I grew up outside of a little town in the Central Valley called Lodi, and in that tiny area there was my uncle and grandfather's cabinet shop and a local blacksmith that was a member of our church, and a man who did repairs and maintenance on vehicles for a local grape grower. Each of those environments gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit about woodworking, about welding, working with a lathe, working with motors, just working with your hands in a way that made sense to me. And as I got a little older, I got to see hydroplane races, how they were constructed by a local man in Lodi, and how you blend wood, aluminum, motors, linkages, and so on and so forth. All of those things had a great impact on me later.
The title is Workmanship of Risk. Explain what that means.
David Pye wrote a book on woodworking, on craftsmanship, and the thing that caught me was he talked about the workmanship of certainty and the workmanship of risk. And certainty, I took it as a craftsman who would start with very detailed drawings, usually 3 orthographic elevations. So a craftsman with that skill could then make that object without really any problem. The risk part is where you have the craft skills, but you're going to be doing things that just have an inherent risk in how they're going to be noodled out and refined and brought to a final conclusion.
What's a recent example where you took substantial risks?
I think Ruby's one of the best because it started at a workshop in Penland, which is in North Carolina. And I did a lamination with my students that had the most unusual curve to it and an accidental part of it, which is beautiful. And I did some laminating and the carving on the seat to a small extent in my 2 weeks. And then over the next 6 months, I kept developing thoughts and notions and little bits here and there. And that's how that came about in a very mysterious way.
That's one of your best pieces.
Thank you.
I like the way the book is organized into chapters based on some of the themes you work with. Chairs, vehicles, and laminated wood are probably my favorites.
There's about 6 sections. Probably the longest chapter is the vehicles, because my first one was the original go-kart, which I made with the blacksmith from Lodi when I was a teenager. There are all kinds of vehicles. There's vehicles made entirely of wood, and there's the hot rod, the tubester, which is made of a 33 Ford pickup that's been highly modified, and much of the modifications are in some very unusual ways. The headers, the bed of the truck, the intake for the radiators, which is in the pickup bed. The top of the blower had Big Bugger on it, which was a big air intake made of machined aluminum. Kind of went on and on.
Why are you so fascinated with chairs?
Well, that started a long time ago when I was still in commercial art. I made a chair out of the scraps from the shop that I assisted in. And it became Ollie's chair because she scratched on it over her life of 20 years, and it was just really some fun. But then in 1975, I worked exclusively on bent lamination, and I made the captain's chair, and it got a great deal of coverage in a book and some magazines. And eventually in 2003, I started a chair with my class at De Anza College called Peaches. And I would do demonstrations on laminating, carving, welding, working with a variety of materials. And I would come back to my home after teaching, work on it some more, take it back down to school, and I would continue discussing what I was trying to do and other techniques with my class.
I particularly enjoyed seeing your drawings throughout the book. They're sometimes just a rough sketch, and sometimes highly detailed. Many people have likened them to the sketches of Leonardo da Vinci, and they have a unique quality of their own. How do you decide how much detail to include in the sketching stage?
That's a good question, Ron, and it isn't one that's easily answered because I put quite a few drawings in to show a variety of styles. Some are extremely loose, some are quite tight, but there is a real variety. I'm going to use one example. The piece Turbo had a range of drawings. There were many loose sketches at first to just sort of noodle out the general concept. And once I had done that, I did some more careful drawing on grid paper, which then I expanded to a full-size sheet of butcher paper, which was about 9 feet long. And that was the side view of the motorcycle. From that, I started doing individual parts, and perhaps the one part that was just the most fun was the spring. And I decided to do it like a mechanical drawing with a T-square and triangles and being very careful with dimensions and putting those dimensions down, working out the proportions to where I felt it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed both the process and the outcome of that particular piece.
It's a beautiful sculpture.
Thanks, Ron.
Anything else you'd like to say about the book?
Well, there's 288 pages, over 300 photographs. It's in a number of sections. We've talked a bit about some. There's a chronology section, and it basically is a photo history of segments of my life, plus little details written about what was going on with that photo or that period of time. I do a lot of detail work. Often the pieces are quite complex, and I felt we needed to use 2, 3, 4, 5 pages to cover some of those pieces well. An example would be Chain Reaction, which had 2 pages which were large views, and a couple more pages that show it with the wings open. There are pages that have intricate details that are highly complex, colorful with wood, chrome, paint, and so forth. I just felt it gave it a more complete feeling about what my work was about.
Yeah, the detailed photos are great all through the book.
Thank you. There's a final section which are snapshots done by myself and others over the 40 years we've been here. We live on a country property, and we built the studio, the house, and most everything on the place. This section has details of me working on pieces, grinding, welding, laminating, sanding, just a variety of the environment that we live in.
How do people order the book?
My wife will handle the orders by email, and her email address is gaylecooper@comcast.net. The price is $75. The shipping is by media mail, and there will be tax if you're a California resident.
Thank you so much, Mike. I know that the people who watch my channel will love your book.
Thanks, Ron. I really do think they will.